Okay, great. We're starting today, Tanya Chapter 11. Really starting in a way, a new section, and the Algebra starts off, Zel umat ze. We discussed this before. Zel umat ze asalokim means that this opposite that. It means that Hashem made everything opposite. We've discussed it in more detail before. So what are we comparing in this context? The wicked man who prospers is antithetical to the righteous man who suffers. Now, without going into too much depth, all we're explaining now in very simple words is that the righteous man and the wicked man, which I'm pretty certain I mentioned before, that don't take wicked like literally, but rather take wicked as an unrefined person who has not yet reached their potential. But now's not the place to go into too much detail in that. But we're just going to use the word wicked for now. But remember, that's not the absolute definition. The definition is Russia. That's what the word is, not wicked. But anyways, the righteous man and the wicked man are opposites. So how are they opposites? They're exactly opposite. So the righteous man will do something selfless. The wicked man will do the same thing selfish. The righteous man will have holy thought, speech, and action. The wicked man will have unholy thought, speech, and action. Even though it's seemingly a contradiction that we said before, that the righteous man, is a gift from God, but the concept must be strong with us. Okay. The point is that spiritually this concept is correct, because what we're saying is the goodness in his divine soul. Okay. So I just read a few words. Basically what we're saying is the righteous man, his divine soul that dominates in the brain, goes into the heart and then dominates the heart. The wicked man, who's dominant in the heart, which the evil inclination starts from the heart, spreads to the brain and dominates the brain. It's the exact opposite motion. And what the Alter Rebbe continues is that it's a continuum. It's a continuum from a complete domination to 50%, 2%, and then on the other side of the spectrum, when the domination's the other way around. Fine. So now we're discussing practically. I don't even have to read it inside. The next page is speaking practically. Where is your average Yid holding before he's a Bainani? That's the question. So we're discussing about the tzaddik and the rasha, the spiritual, technical, the imbalance, the way it works. What about your Bainani? Your Bainani, the divine soul's in the brain, the animal soul's in the heart. The thing is, the animal soul's present, but the divine soul's fighting and waging war all the time in the Bainani. The tzaddik has pushed to a whatever degree the animal soul out of the equation, and a rasha, God forbid, has done the exact opposite. It's crazy to think about that. For a rasha, in other words, for any Jew in this world who is not perpetually having holy thought, speech, and action, he is really his divine soul to different degrees, whether it's 1% all the way to 99%, 0 or 100, I don't know about, but 1 to 99, his divine soul is out of the equation, because his animal soul has come up and has pushed the divine soul out of the equation, if that makes sense. So I just got a bit of a headache and stuff, but I said to myself, no, I'm going to do this year either way. That's why I'm like taking longer to think and stuff. But the point is, think about it like this. And I'm talking to everyone here, just about. And if you feel I'm not talking to you, then okay. Then take it as if I'm not talking to you. But for your most average Yid in this generation, their thought, speech, and action is not 100% of the time focused on God. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive, but I don't think so. That's my opinion, right? I have to voice my opinion. So the point I'm trying to tell everyone, and I actually saw this in the letter of the Rebbe, is that free will exists where we have an opportunity to pick one option or another option. But what happens if a person only has one option? On either end of the spectrum, is that free will? The basic answer, this is a long discussion, so I do apologize if you disagree or don't understand. The basic answer is it's not free will if there's only one option to pick. So your tzaddik has only one option, holiness. Your complete rasha has only one option, unfortunately, is unholiness. But we're talking about complete extremes here. Right, you can see the video, complete extremes. But realistically, it's a continuum. Your Beinoni is in a place where it's in a way, Beinoni is really in the place where it's like there's two options. There is a case in parentheses that we're going to come up to later on in the Tanya. Speaks about a Beinoni who does not struggle. So for him, it's also only one option, but it's an interesting scenario. There's a lot of prerequisites to be a Beinoni who does not struggle. So out of all the Beinoni, to be a Beinoni that does not struggle is even more rare, if you understand. But for your average Beinoni, there's a struggle. It's like an equal balance, so to say. Metaphorically speaking. But for your rasha, what has happened is that due to the power that the animal soul has gotten over time, more and more strength, like a beast, like an animal that eats more, gets bigger and bigger and stronger, the animal soul does the same, and God forbid, literally pushes the divine soul out of the equation, slowly, God forbid. Unfortunately, I've seen it myself. I have seen it, so it's something that's very clear to me in either of the directions. But that's literally what happens. So then the question is, when somebody's divine soul is pushed out of the equation in a continuum of 1% to 99%, whatever it may be, or did I say question? I mean more like a statement. Then it is that where does his free will lie? That's the question. It could be that his free will becomes more few and far between, because where does he have an opportunity to even wage war with the animal soul if his divine soul to a very large degree is out of the equation? There isn't free will. So it's literally like someone's dug himself a hole that he can't climb out of. It sounds ridiculous, it sounds absurd, it sounds unfair, but spiritually that's literally what happens. However, there is a way out. We have something called the Pintaliyid. And even the most extreme rasha, whose divine soul, theoretically, metaphorically, maybe even in actuality, the divine soul of the conscious faculties is 100% out of the equation. And I mean 100%. However, the Pintele Yid can't be out of the equation. At the end of the day, he's a Yid, born a Yid, and or a convert, doesn't matter. Either two, doesn't matter. He's a Yid and he's born a Yid, or converted, he's a Yid. The point is he's a Yid. He's got his Pintele Yid, and from that Pintele Yid, even though consciously the divine soul out of the equation, there's a concept of Teshuvah and returning to God still exists. But what does it mean that the divine soul is out of the equation? So let's discuss what happens when the divine soul is in the equation. Let's say 50% in the equation, so 50% is pushed out. So the person maybe still recognizes that they should change their ways. But the more they don't change the ways, the less they recognize how they need to change the ways. To the point where it literally changes that they don't even appreciate and don't even recognize that they should change their ways. So that's basically what happens in the continuum when a person goes a bit steps more in that direction, but also in the other direction. A person can step in the other direction, and a person can change their ways very, very quickly in any direction, because we're in Galus, and that's how Galus works. So a person can change his way very quickly to the way of holiness. However, However, from other Torah sources that I've learned, as much as a person can change their ways to holiness, I think I'll not end on this point. Part of the Teshuvah process, part of his coming closer to God, coming closer to holiness, as we say, is that Hashem makes it a struggle for that person. And everyone's completely different in this regard. Some people struggle early on, some people struggle later on. Some people say, "Oh God, I'm trying to come closer to you. I'm trying to do a Torah mitzvahs, while all of a sudden my life got so much more difficult." I'm explaining to you why it's part of the Teshuvah process, part of the cleansing process to enter the realm of holiness. Why? Because the realm of holiness is not for free. That's why. The realm of holiness, as much as in Galus and exile, a person can change their life in a split second, and don't think otherwise. But to enter the realm of holiness in the day-to-day way, to continue living your life and entering into the realm of holiness, and when you're in the realm of holiness, climbing the holy rank in a very humble way, coming closer and closer to Hashem, imbuing your life with more and more revelation of Hashem's presence, that takes time, and one needs to earn that. And then Hashem does give a person a challenge to earn that, because that's something which is truly earned, truly. Versus other things in this material world are falsely earned. Holiness cannot be falsely earned. So, and in a way also, like if a person's, God forbid, going to the Rasha side, also known as the Tumah side, it's also a process. People do things in their life that's quick and stuff, but even if a person does a crazy act or whatever, it doesn't mean they're thrown in the other direction. Having said that, I just thought I was going to finish on this point, but the last point pops in my mind is that, and this is something that's really important for people to hear, that depression is really, God forbid, is literally the portal into Tumah. It sounds into impurity. It sounds crazy, it sounds ridiculous, but when a person tunes into depression, however it manifests, and unfortunately, I've seen this myself. I've seen this when I was not on myself, God forbid, or other people, also God forbid, but I've seen this already happened. That through depression, a person has gone from a relatively good place to really, really, really impure places. It's really terrible. So, if a person needs chemical substances, if you go to the doctor, they get medication. There's the homeopathic stuff to assist them with depression. It's absolutely critical in their avoidance Hashem to do that, without a doubt. And also in small minor cases. It's the idea of being humble is the opposite of being depressed, that not to be so arrogant, because with arrogancy comes depression. Because when there's an arrogancy and then there's a lacking of that arrogancy, that becomes depression. So being arrogant, an arrogant person might not be depressed, but when that arrogant person doesn't get what they want, then depression kicks in big time. You see this very often. A common example is at a restaurant, a person doesn't feel they were treated as they deserved to be treated, or the food wasn't as good as they expected. It all comes from an arrogancy to a certain degree. You might say, "Oh, but I'm not arrogant about it." Doesn't matter. Arrogancy is the spectrum, where full-blown arrogancy is on one end and humility is on the other end. So the only cure of arrogancy is to go to the side of humility. That's the only cure. You can't sit in the middle. The middle is not humility. Just clarifying that. The middle is just less arrogant. That's called the arrogant humility spectrum. So, okay, I think we'll end on there. Chapter 11 of the Tanya.